Hey, what's up, guys and gals? This is Kyle here with another episode of The Underwriter's Take. And today, this video is going to mark the first of a series, probably 3 or 4 videos, in where I dive into a very important topic that I'm sure is on a lot of YouTube viewers' minds, and that is college. The cost of college, why it's so expensive, student loans, student loan forgiveness. I know that's a big hot button and a big hot topic in the news right now. And then finally, we'll follow it up with a brief look at my college experience and how I earned 2 degrees with very minimal student debt. And so in this video, we're going to focus on one key question, and frankly, the most important question, and that is why in the heck college is so expensive in the first place.
I'm just saying people should trust themselves more than a system that happily churns out unemployed debtors and provides dubious value.
The true value of a college education is intangible.
The true value of snake oil is intangible as well.
Okay, and before we go any further, if you could please do me a favor and click the thumbs up button on the video. It'll really help me out with the YouTube algorithm voodoo. Hopefully help get this video to more and more people. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel and click the little notification bell. That way you're notified when I upload new content for you. Now, is college expensive because prices of tuition keep going up and up and up every year? Yes. Is it expensive because universities shell out $1 million pay compensation packages to athletic directors and head coaches and administrators? Yes. Now, is college expensive because universities maintain billion-dollar endowments? Yes. Is it even more expensive because they shell out hundreds of millions of dollars a year to build football stadiums and state-of-the-art facilities? Yes, but blaming the high cost of tuition on these things is a bit like treating a symptom and not the disease. It would really literally be like giving a COVID patient Advil in order to treat the fever. And so for this video, instead of looking at the symptoms of the problem, we're going to take a step back and we're going to look at the bigger problem. And that is, what allows colleges to do this? What allows colleges to get away with continually jacking up prices every year while also shelling out hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in various expenses? And the answer is demand. That's right. It comes down to simple supply and demand. In this video, I'll show you how the relative supply of colleges and universities has remained pretty flat, while the demand, or the enrollment, has skyrocketed up every year exponentially since 1973. And throughout my research on this topic, there's one thing that I believe is underpinning that demand and allowing prices of tuition to go up, 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 and up without impunity, and that is the cheap availability of federally subsidized student loans. Now, when I say cheap, I realize that's going to, ruffle some people's feathers. I don't mean cheap in an absolute sense. I mean cheap relative to other forms of debt with similar risk profiles. Specifically, think about it. College is an intangible asset. If someone has a college degree, it's a piece of paper. It's not something that can be repossessed like a house or a car. And yet the rate on student loans is somewhere between 4 or 5% on average, right? Where other unsecured debts, like let's say a credit card, is usually 15, 20%, etc. Now, why is the cost of the debt relative cheaper than others? The answer is government subsidy, for better or worse. And in this video, we're going to go into that in detail. We are going to explain what Sallie Mae is, why it was created for the best intentions, but how the creation of Sallie Mae and the expansion of student debt has really caused the system to balloon in size such that now we're talking about, student loan forgiveness in the national news.
So let's dive right into the data. Our goal is to sort of get a clear understanding of the supply and demand picture for college. And the first thing we can do is see that the number of colleges relative to the population is pretty small. U.S. News reports just over 4,000 degree-granting academic institutions. Woo, 4,000, that sounds like a lot. Not really when we have a population of 330 plus million people. So next we wanted to look at the demand side of things. And this is a chart from the NCES that shows the bachelor's degrees awarded per 100,000 people. So it goes from the 80s to 2010. And as you can see, the number of people earning bachelor's degrees has, accelerated. So that's a great thing. But that just shows the demand, the huge demand for a college education. And now this was an interesting one here. This is because this goes all the way back to 72 when Sallie Mae was created. Back when Sallie Mae was created in 1972, only 15% of males and only 9% of females actually went to college. So, of course, if you're a government policy, expert, that's not good. So Sallie Mae was created, and that numbers has, over doubled by 2019. Now it's 36% of male and females respectively who are going to college. So again, this just speaks to the increasing demand. And now this is a chart showing the average increases, the inflation increases year over year of various things. The blue line is general costs, the red line is medical, and look at that green line, college. So as we show the demand going up, the price has inflated well above, other goods and services. And here's another visual of that. Here's the overall inflation rate since 1980 to 2020, 228% in absolute terms. And look at the stair-step price of college. And what's interesting is right around here in 2005 was when the government started making loans directly. The private lenders got out of the market and Sallie Mae started making loans directly. And then look at the exponential growth in the increase in tuition. And then here's from Ed Advisors. This is another tuition versus CPI. Now, this is not declining trend. This is showing the percentage increase each year. But the key takeaway here is the blue line is always above the red line, meaning the college tuition average price is always inflating and going up faster than the general inflation rate. And here's another way to look at that as well. In this one, the red line is college. Look at stair stepping up, 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 while the general inflation rate, is going up very modestly.
Now, it's also important to look at how college prices are set. And maybe it's changed, and if it has, let me know in the comments. But when I was in school, it went something like this. First thing you do is fill out the FAFSA. And that lets the government and the university know exactly how much you can afford. The university then comes to the table with some sort of grants or scholarships of some kind, but never enough to pay for the high, bloated, starting high tuition rate that the university publicly sets. And then the good old government comes in and lends you the rest. Now think about that for a second. What other product or service does the provider of the product or service get the unfettered access to your affordability before setting the price, right? Just imagine if you went to the Apple store and the sales clerk said, well, for you are only middle class, so I'm gonna give you a $500 subsidy on your iPhone, and you can pay it off monthly over the course of 10 years because you could have credit, you can borrow. Oh, but you over there, you're a wealthier person. You need to pay $10,000 for your iPhone. Seriously, what other industry is there that level of cloudiness around price discovery? Maybe healthcare? So Sallie Mae is a government agency that was created in 1972. The government took a look at the amount of people going to college, realized that there wasn't a huge market for student loans, and created a government agency to backstop the student loan industry. The general process went like this. Because student loans are inherently more risky and because they're unsecured debts, as we talked about, lenders were more unwilling, private lenders that is, were more unwilling to make loans to students. And therefore the government thought that student enrollment was suffering, and in fact it was. So in order to mitigate this, Sallie Mae was created to guarantee student loans. Now, this would incentivize banks to make more and more and more and more student loans, therefore allowing more and more and more and more people to borrow money to go to college. And the reason why banks were incentivized to do this is because they didn't have to foot the credit risk, right? If the student defaulted on the debts, Sallie Mae would step in to the rescue and pay off those student debts. And so as you can see from the chart we showed earlier, when Sallie Mae was created, that, increased the supply of money available to college in the form of borrowing, and thus the demand increased along with it. But the number of colleges and universities haven't really increased that much over time. Now, so let's take all of these different facts and factors that we've talked about, and let's just sort of think through it logically. If I'm a university, I raise tuition prices every year, and I know my demand for my service that I'm providing, or my product, if you will, hasn't really diminished. If anything, it's aggressively expanded year after year after year after year as more and more high school students want to go to college, as more and more high school students are willing and able and told to borrow money from the government in order to go to college. That gives me impunity as a university. I can continue to raise my prices every year because I know the demand will always be there. Now, I know a lot of people in the comments are going to say, yeah, but if Sallie Mae wasn't created in the 70s, there would be a lot less people that would be able to afford college, and therefore access to college would be hurt. And that is absolutely true. I'm in no way saying that Sallie Mae should be abolished. I'm just saying that the government, with its best intentions, looked at one part of the supply-demand curve and didn't quite realize how inflating the supply of money would correlate to price. And since most universities are structured as nonprofits, they're getting all of this tuition money coming in the forms of federally subsidized loans. And in order to maintain nonprofit agencies, they have to spend that money. So what do? They go out and build new football stadiums. They go out and pay athletic directors huge amounts of money. They go after lucrative TV contracts. Okay, that's it for this video, guys. Hopefully you now know a little more about Sallie Mae, why it was created, and hopefully now you can visually see how college tuition prices have risen over and above the broader inflation rate. And hopefully now you can kind of see a correlation between the underlying price of that service and the supply of money, and therefore demand chasing that service, and how that has really accelerated the issues that we're facing today, which is that college is unaffordable and the system churns out, generations of debtors over and over and over again.